What in the name of heaven is this? He's dead, Jim.
Welcome to the Autopsy bench. I have a real weird one here. This is one of our older builds. This is about 6 or 7 years old. It's been part X by the customer, but he's also told me that it's got a weird little problem, and that is that it's an RD56 ARB locker. It locks perfectly well going uphill, but if you try and go downhill, it won't lock, and the compressor runs. And I've been fiddling around with this for the best part of an hour, and it holds air. The compressor's on at the moment. It's not leaking. I've tried wiggling everything. A couple of things I have noticed. That pin is bent quite substantially. And on the other side, which is where the air system is, if you look at the top there are some dings and dents, and similarly at the bottom there are some dings and dents, and I can't work out what they are. It does leak a little bit of air through the join of the airing, but it's actually got one of our RD56 end flanges, so that's brand spanking new. The centre's discoloured because that's cast steel, and I think being a front diff, the lithium grease has stained it. Nothing's going to stain that. That's EN34T. And on the other side, it's also got one of our heavy duty end flanges. All the bolts are tight, except that customer says this is a little bit looser, but on the other hand, as that locking ring is bent, I really don't know what's going on. It's a peg casing, so I have a feeling that with a bit of luck, when I take this apart, I'll find out what's wrong with it. But at the moment, I'm at a complete loss because it's holding air all the way through this 2-minute preamble. So I'm going to take the centre out. It gets curiouser. All I've done is taken the locking ears off. Now bear in mind that locking ear had gone and moved. That is actually very loose, and yet it's held together with 12.9 grade bolts. So something horrible has gone on in there. So I'm going to undo the carrier cap bolts and see what they're like. Well, I've never actually seen this before. That RTC3095 has cracked in half. That is seriously weird. Oh, the compressor's woken up, but it's not connected. So that explains why it's loose. Something has gone bang, and okay, let's dig a little deeper. Now bear in mind this is an RD56. This back of this crown wheel has done some serious rubbing on the peg pad, and if I actually look at the peg pad, it's got very, very hot. That has burnt into the phosphor bronze. Still not a lot wiser. The actual flange itself, where it's cracked, it's put a teeny weeny little groove in the EN34 end flange, but still puzzled. If you're wondering why I say I know it's burnt, then we got a brand new one at the bottom and Simon's rather burnt one at the top, and basically that phosphor bronze pad has been holding the centre into position all the time he's been driving, where the whole of the centre is basically loose, and it's done 8,000 miles like that, I think he said. So quite interesting, but phosphor bronze pad into the scrap. Okay, the thrust washer's definitely picked up on something, and so has the EN34T end flange. Now for something to put grooves in like that, I'm beginning to suspect that something has got into this diff somewhere, either between the crown wheel and pinion, and the peg has worked really hard and it's cracked the carrier cap bearing. I still don't understand why that would be leaking. I'm going to dig a bit deeper, and that's why. Don't know what's happened, but somehow I would say at some point in its life with the previous owner, it's had a massive overload, and that has cracked the carrier bearing on the non-air side. That somehow has generated swarf. The swarf has then gone into the diff. It hasn't done the gears an awful lot of good, and it's worked its way over to the air system. and the air system, once it gets a swarf in there going backwards and forwards on and off, has knackered the seal. But I'm pretty sure this poor little locker has reached the end of its life. My air end flange will be absolutely fine. The crown wheel's going in the skip, all the gears are going in the skip, and I don't know what the rest of it's going to be like, and the thrust washers are going in the skip and the phosphor bronze pad. But I think it's one of those things where we'll never actually know quite what happened, but something let go and then it just carried on, and sooner or later that would have gone bang. It's probably the peg casing that's actually saved it, but the pad is showing that it did an awful lot of work when something went wrong inside that diff. And I think finally I found out what's happened. Yes, it was overloaded very hard, and it's got a couple of damaged teeth. Now those little bits that are probably the size of half a matchstick, there's another bit over there, about the size of half a matchstick, have gone in there. The pinion and the crown wheel have tried to carry on meshing. There's been an almighty bang. That shock load has sent the shock load to the carrier bearing, which has broken. The bits have then started damaging everything. The bits have then internally, and these little lockers are quite well sealed, so the oil can get in, but bits obviously don't so easily come out of these. Not like the RD128 that has whopping great holes in the side. These are quite sealed. In fact, I have an RD128 there, so you can imagine if bits get in, which isn't a great idea, bits can get out. On an RD56, these holes here, these 4 holes are all blocked up with shafts. There's no way out for it, and that's sealed as well. So anything internally gets in there, and it will get in through the other end flange. They sometimes don't come out, and it's wreaked a bit of havoc. So once that bit came off the crown wheel, which was probably just an overload, and this is only a standard 3.54, if it wasn't in a peg casing, it would have probably blown up and taken more teeth off, but the peg casing has saved it, but it was fatally wounded. So there you go, autopsy over, lots of dead bits for the skip. You can shut up again, and thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.
Diagnostic complete.
He's dead, Jim.